This is Brother Jamal coming to you on my YouTube channel. And we wanted to bring you maybe like this could possibly be maybe first part one, maybe part two. This podcast is just simply as we remember Malcolm. Elijah Malik El Shabazz. Most of you probably know him by Malcolm X. And we just want to do a segment of Malcolm X. We remember Malcolm X. That's what we wanted to do this on. The first part is that we start off with Malcolm X being born in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska is about maybe 2 hours from Des Moines, Iowa, in the Midwest. We won't say the heart of the Midwest, but Midwest. And so I want to encourage the young people, the youth out there too, to check out the autobiography of Malcolm X. I mean, I know so many young people into social media today. That's cool. But if you get a chance to read the autobiography of Malcolm X, real good reading. I had the honor and pleasure to read it 2 or 3 times, and it's real good. So I encourage you to read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I want to encourage you to read about Malcolm X's grandson, who followed kind of in the footsteps of his grandfather in the work. He was murdered in Mexico some years ago. We call it murder because that's what it was. We call Malcolm X's murder, that's what that was. So they both were murdered, but he was on the path, and we believe that he was following in a lot of the work that his grandfather was, the journey that his grandfather started on. But getting back to Malcolm X, born in Omaha, Nebraska, 1925, and if you can imagine Omaha, Nebraska, now Malcolm's father, Reverend Earl Little, his mother was Louise Little, and Malcolm X's father was a worker and a father of Marcus Moses Garvey. He was a Garveyite. And so his work in Omaha, Nebraska with the black community there was to talk to them, encourage them to be self-sufficient, to have their own businesses, raise their own food and have gardens and just do for themselves and not depend on the white people, but having your own and building your own. This is in the 1920s or something we talking about, you know. So Malcolm was born, inshallah, I hope my date is right, May 19, 1925. So imagine a black man in Omaha, Nebraska in the 1920s, 1930s, or 40s, anytime during that period, even all the way up to the 50s and 60s, talking to black people about having their own businesses, raising their own crops and food and stuff, and having their own stores and shops and all that. And so once the whites got wind of that, especially you're talking about the Night Riders, they began to pay Malcolm, at that time Malcolm Little, pay his family a visit to their home and level threats and stuff against his family because of his father and his father and what he was encouraging and talking and going around meeting with the black people on having their own, just having their own things. So that's what was happening in Omaha, Nebraska during that time. So this ended up, make a long story short, what ended up happening, these Night Riders, these Klan members, they ended up murdering Malcolm X's father. That's what they ended up doing, murdering his father. And so his mother Um, just, I think she ended up having a nervous breakdown, ended up in a mental hospital. She never got out of that hospital. As I read the autobiography, she stayed in there all of her life. She never got out, and so she ended up in that mental institution all of her life, and that had a big impact on Malcolm X's family, his brothers and sisters, all of them. Eventually, their family was split up. They ended up placing him in different places, and that's what ended up happening with his family. So I just wanted to shed a little light on the, as we remember Malcolm and talk about him, there's so much information out. Malcolm's daughters who are doing so many things today's time. You can go on YouTube and put in Shabazz. And you'll see Malcolm's grandson, you'll see his daughters come up, and like I said, they are doing so much with their lives. And when you hear the young women talk, when you hear them talk about their mother and their father, Malcolm, inshallah, was married to Betty Shabazz. And as I said, he got chance to make the Hajj, and but we'll go into that. But this is kind of like the first part of what we wanted to talk about as we remember Malcolm Little at that particular time. The X came about when he was in prison, got involved with the Nation of Islam, and I'm not going to go into all the details of that story. But that's where he got the X from. When he got out, he went to Elijah Muhammad, became a minister in the Nation of Islam, and that's where he really began to help the nation grow and build a membership. It was so much of that was due to the elegant speaking and the elegant talking of Malcolm Little, Malcolm X. If you go back and see some of his videos, you can see where he's talking to and debating professors, Harvard, Yale University, on all the radio talk shows. Malcolm was the man in when it came to debating and talking about just simple things, because he was versed, because when he was incarcerated, he read the dictionary from the A to Z to the end of it. He read the whole dictionary, so he was well versed on knowing how to speak and how to use the words and the language and how to talk and how to debate. He knew all that. Allah blessed him with all that, so he was well versed on that. So we just wanted to mention that to you as we close out this part one. We remember Malcolm. Please, for the young people, for the youth out there, check out Malcolm X's autobiography. That's what you want to check out. This is a podcast, part one, talking about as we remember Malcolm Little.